hard to say
even
that's,
within,
this is this, but it could also be this. you know,
so
but-
even within the discipline of science,
Yes.
and then also outside, because I think that idea of pure substance
Yeah,
is still something after
right,
reading,
like water can be a pure
NGSS.
substance, but it is a compound.
Mhm.
So, it's challenging to wrap your brain around it and define precisely.
Anyone else have something they wanna share that was challenging for them today? Ashley?
I still found, even after all this time being at Mix, and I'm sure our students have too, when it was like, okay, how would you categorize these? You know, being, okay, well, what exactly is she looking for? What direction should I go in? I mean,
I'm so glad you said that because I encountered this a lot this year when I was teaching, because kids, if I gave them something that was it was still structured but open-ended, I always had students who I could tell did not feel comfortable and were more comfortable getting it, is this right or wrong answer for me than
Right.
not.
or, you know, just a extremely open-ended, it's something that I struggle with, and I'm getting better with it, but I know I have students, even just completely open-ended tends to make me feel a little lost. So I tend to reach out for any kind of just something to.
And so the other piece that I would add to what you're saying is that it goes back to that idea of teachers knowing their content really, really well, so that you can see where so that you can look at what a student is doing and be able to ask scaffolded questions to get them to where they need to go.
Right. Working in a diverse group though helps too, because you
Mhm.
have some that'll pop into that, oh god.
The next clock partner that we're
Excuse
gonna
me,
find
could we go
today-
back to this
Yes.
categories issue? I think there are two issues here. First of all, teaching kids and requiring them to think critically, to think deeply about things. We cannot not do that. We cannot have this wrong answer, right answer all the time. Because in nature, there are different ways of thinking about different things. So the idea of developing those critical thinking skills, with that, having students categorize things, and I think helping them to see that there are different ways to categorize. The one that comes to my mind is dichotomous keys in high school. We used to have kids, well, I did, all of them would take off one shoe, and they would get in a circle and throw it in the middle, and I would say, okay, categorize this, categorize these shoes, and they'd come up with, different ways to categorize, and then finally I'd say, okay, categorize it into two groups, which was harder, and it ends up being something like shoes with ties or no ties, which it leads into the dichotomous key. But the idea of having them categorize natural materials into different categories, I think would help with that. So the idea of having students categorize materials that can fit into more than one category is very important for us to do.
In elementary too, like sorting spelling words, if you do them in an open sort, they can sort them in all different ways, and it kind of makes it less scary.
Oh, okay. I never heard of that. Of course, I don't teach elementary school, but that's interesting. Okay. So, anyway, just my input on categories and open-ended. Because remember, what we're supposed to be doing in science is students are supposed to end up creating their own research question, creating their own hypothesis to test, creating their own methods to test it, and to go back to those three questions that Ashley came up with. What do you want to know? How are you going to find out? And what's the answer? That ultimately, that is what students should be doing, not doing the cookbook kind of things that we do that are open-ended, but we're still, giving them, we're leading them down such a narrow pathway. We're not allowing them, making them to think deeply and broadly.
please stand up. Okay, the next thing that you're gonna do is find your 6 o'clock partner. So someone you have not talked to today, go find that person, you have 10 seconds. 9, 8, 3, 2, 1. Okay, go ahead and fill in your 6 o'clock partner. Make sure you introduce yourselves if you've never spoken with your partner before. Here is question 2 for debriefing today's lesson. Question 2, and you will have 1 minute to work on your response. So this is just free writing. How would you or could you change today's lesson to fit your class or content area? How would you or could you change today's lesson to fit your content area? How would you or could you change today's lesson to fit your class or content area?
Candace,
Yes, ma'am.
you want us to all think as science teachers?
No, so how could you take pieces of this lesson and incorporate it into math? How can you make the lesson your own? It could be something as simple as, I'm gonna use, I don't know, aluminum foil to measure area for covering the turkey at Thanksgiving. I mean, it could be something as, I want a takeaway. What's a takeaway that you could include in your classroom? Yes. And I'll know you're done when your pencils are on your paper, because I still see lots of people writing. Okay, so go ahead and share your ideas with your 6 o'clock partner. 1 Okay, what were some takeaways? How could you use parts of today's lesson in your own instruction? Melissa?
I plan on utilizing this entire lesson because I happen to teach 8th grade. So, in learning about the elements and compounds is a review of what they should have learned in sixth grade. Because it also said that elements of pure substance and then the difference between elements and compounds in sixth grade. So having that, a way to review that, and then going into the atomic structure, which we go to in eighth grade.
Okay. I thought too that, the last portion of the lesson with, solid, liquid, and gas could be,
Yes.
really good with understanding, relative density of
Yes.
materials, of actually same substances even. Alyssa, what do you think?
I like the part of classifying the matter because that's one of our keys in fifth grade science. So I like the idea of either discovering a rule or creating your own rule and having other students determine what the rule is. I really like that because I feel like it's really good to students thinking. So instead of just separating them, also having to create one maybe for the next group and then checking to see if that was the rule that they had created.
So maybe having, other groups evaluate each other's work?
Yes.
Okay. Brandon? What do you think?
I looked at taking the Legos and separating them like we did in terms of classifying numbers as far as rational, as far as whole or counting numbers.
So using the Legos as a model for classifying numbers?
Yes, I can build like a Lego that's a fraction, classify here, a whole number of things.
Nice. Amanda?
We really appreciated the Lego models and how a gas, a solid, and a liquid interact with one another. I've taught that lesson before, and with a diagram or with acting it out, but that the piece of the Lego made then when they went up to the front of the room, it meant so much more because I could also see the representation on my desk.
Okay.
So kind of having both of those.
Okay. Would anyone else like to share? Rochelle?
Well, Brandon made me something with the Legos. Using composite figures. I teach seventh grade, so it's just really gets the kids sometimes. But if you use the Legos as an area, I mean it's very like 2x4. It's like right there, 8. That's maybe. But then with composite figures, having them put the Legos together, and then seeing you can't stack them because it has to be a 2D object, but maybe form a 2D little and then calculate the composite figure.
Okay.
Legos, you could get one of those big like green bases there and put them. That's a good idea.
Anyone else? Okay. How am I on time? All right, you have 10 seconds to go find your 9 other partners. Okay, so go ahead and record your 9 o'clock partner on your clock. Okay, and I have a quick question for you. Why do you think that I'm having you, besides gathering different perspectives and understanding different points of view, why do you think that we're meeting with multiple clock partners today? So you have 30 seconds to talk in your group. Go. 30 seconds. Why do you think?
Is that the question that you're asking?
Right now, I'm at just a quick question. Why would I have you meet with multiple clock partners in one setting? Besides, we've already established that's a really good way to get different perspectives or understand someone else's thinking. What would be another reason why I would have you meet with multiple clock partners? today. 30 seconds, discuss.
Sometimes they get different.
All right, give me 5. Thank you so much. Brandon, did you have a question?
Oh, no, comment.
Okay, so why do you think I've asked you to meet with multiple partners today? What do you think, Patricia?
It lets us, and it would let the students move around and kind of have that movement, and then that little bit of in between, like brain break when you're moving.
That's really that's the primary reason I do this, and I utilize the clock. I call it clock strangers in my classroom because I want to drive home the point that you should not be talking to your friends throughout the class period, but it's really that component of getting up and moving around. So that's, did anyone else have another reason for why I might do this, Tim?
You could, because you made us draw this clock so big, you could collect these as a teacher and use them later on.
What do you mean?
You can hand them back to the kids and tell them, okay, go meet with your 9 o'clock clock.
Yes, and that is established at the very beginning, or at the semester, in my classroom. So I have kids who meet with different people, every day. Rochelle?
I guess that was gonna be my question, just how you, not utilized it, but how did you start it? And just like, where do they keep them? I was thinking like maybe you guys had a Post-it. and then fill
I
out-
have an actual paper that says Clock Strangers with a clock on it, and I can share that, with you guys. I use an interactive notebook in my classroom, so, this Clock Strangers goes on the front cover of the interactive notebook. And we established the partners, we established 4 partners the first week of school. And then after that, after the nuance of, meeting with those 4 people gets a little bit old, I'll start adding other, hours in.
Ah, that's a good idea. I'm like, or do you just get new partners every 6 weeks or 9 weeks? Or
You could do
something?
that too,
Or just adding in more hours.
I just add in more hours, so then by the end of the semester, kids have 12 people, or 11 people they can, 12 people they can meet with, right? So, and then we have lots of conversations about why is it valuable to talk to someone else about your ideas, and then the moving around component. Any other ideas, Brandon?
Well, I think the one thing that wasn't said, for me as a student, by listening to the people I have so far, the things that I did not know, they also didn't know. So for me, I feel less intimidated about, as a student, I said, well, okay, I'm not the only one that asked the same question, so I would be more willing to participate, knowing that I'm not the only one that doesn't know this stuff.
So you think that maybe this strategy may encourage or create a class environment where kids feel like they can take more risks
Right, as a
and
byproduct,
ask
because
questions.
I'm good when I'm talking to my friends I'm comfortable with. They know it or don't know, I don't care. That's the people that I hang out with. But with somebody else that I'm not sure with, I don't talk to that much, they have the same question, oh, okay, I'll participate a little more now.
That's awesome. Anyone else?
Social skills.
Mm-hmm.
It makes them use their social skills, which a lot of them are lacking.
I found the strategy to work really well in my classroom, especially this year. I used it in the past, and then I saw someone utilize the strategy, well, not this specific strategy, but utilize the movement, and then I made the connection between the two, that I could get kids to move around routinely in my class in a 50-minute period by using that tool. The last question I have for you today is question number 3. and it's 2 parts. So first part is identify best practices in the lesson, in Laura's lesson today, identify best practices. And so I would refer back to the poster or the list of assessment strategies you received last week. And then, so identify best practices and what other formative assessment strategies could you have used in this lesson? What other formative assessment strategies could you have used in this lesson? Best practices, what other formative assessment strategies could you have used in this lesson? Or what is your evidence of best practices from the lesson? And what other formative assessment strategies could you use? And I'll know you're done when your pencil is on your Oh, lunch is here. Okay. So when you're done writing, lunch is here. Do we need, can they just go to lunch?
I don't know what it is, it's all right with me.
All right, when you're done, you can go to lunch.
We eat down there. Generally. Unless you need to finish your test.
Figured instead of just moving just my back, kind of stuff.
Structure of it, and then they can use it. So someone using them
And I thought, yeah, I was thinking about some type of area, if I feel something was to be
That's what the tag on my
Now I remember.
That's my point.
goes in and buys stuff and he goes, this was cheaper. You bought generic cereal. You eat it. And he came back and he goes, "It's the same manufacturer." I said, "It's nasty." And I go, "Yeah, it is. It's really nasty." Okay, Brownie, I just need you to get back to me. What can I do for you girls?
Nothing, I was pulling up the two sets of teach, you wanna look?
I did the same thing.
Well, I put it in a PowerPoint.
I've been on sticky notes.
Okay, so this is,
Here's mine,
six.
right there. You found it?
Yes.
Oh, look at you. In the teaks, element is used for phrase two.
Okay, well, they have, okay, so in the sixth grade, they took out elements and compounds from one and combined it up here. So you saw that for the streamlining. So we've got element and compound as a pure substance, so that's, we've got the conversation.
So compound, okay. That's not, I don't agree with that. It says a compound is represented by a chemical formula.
When
Sometimes,
is a compound not represented by a chemical formula?
whenever it
Two
says,
is a formula.
there's not a compound.
Ah. In most instances, that's why you have to know more than you, why you have to have that chemical compound. Okay, so I wanna finish the debriefing information, and you can use this. This is not. It's not, okay. You go ahead and read. I will.
And here, I jotted down that one. In seventh grade, they need to identify organic compounds containing carbon and other elements. Meaning other types of atoms, molecules of atoms that are the same.
Okay, so this detail cannot happen with a fifth grade teacher. I think we can point out the difference in the new, the streamline versus the other ones with an example of, it's not completely correct.
Okay.
And then we can have this discussion with the next week.
Eighth grade, is there any change in the eighth grade takes in this matter?
I don't know, I'll check.
Okay. Eighth grade, its properties are used to classify elements on the periodic table. So on the periodic table, it represents single atoms, not molecules.
What did it
Because
say?
it says properties are used on the periodic table, that properties are used to classify elements, that's 8.5C.
Why aren't they? Give me an example.
Well, it depends on, like with the graphite and the diamond, they have totally different properties,
Oh,
but they're made of the same element.
I was thinking how they might test that.
I think that this is an oversimplification. I think that, periodic table, the elements don't exist as single atoms, so. I don't know. We can
So
talk about it.
diamond is
Is
a
pure
lattice
carbon.
work of atoms, so not as a single atom. So there's no place that exists as
works, it's stable. I'm gonna hand this back to you, but I reserve the right to respond to them later,
I'm probably not gonna be here later.
or just right after lunch. Your hair looks good, did you get it fixed, or did you comb it or something?
I combed it. I figured out,
Pitiful, isn't it?
I figured out how to. I figured out how to, cause my hair's curly, and then if I walk the dog up to get the paper, then I'm out in the humidity. So now I walk the dog with my hair wet,
Oh,
and then I go
good.
back in
And
and
fix
do my
it.
hair, and then, yes, and then I have a curling iron that's actually a brush.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, and then it
That looks nice.
some days better than others, but thank you very much.
I went in to get my hair cut a while back. The guy that cuts it, I've known forever. And before he came, it was a humid day, and my son's dog got out, and I ended up running probably a mile off and on, chasing this stupid animal, and was to the point I was like, forget the dog. They can get another one. And so I get in the car, and I walk into his salon, he went, "What do I have to do to get you to use hair product?" It was bad. I mean, he yelled it across the hall, it wasn't, "Hello, Laura," it was
That's
just,
funny. That is funny. Oh, funny.
that's how it's job security for him.
You need molecules to organisms?
What?
You need molecules to organisms?
Oh, there you go. Science and children.
There's one on matter and something else, but I can't find it in our magazine. It's April, May, that's the earlier one. Are you a member of that? NSTA?
Oh, MSTA, yes.
But you don't, you probably get the older or the magazine, this is the one for elementary.
Awesome.
And they have a 5E lesson. Two of them
Look at
here.
that.
I thought I'll show them in then. Yeah, they're allowed
Let's
to.
go eat.
Need to do that and take it.
Okay, I will come back in.
I have some alcohol with me if you need it. Oh, I don't go anywhere without it. Oh, I have, my liver, I know is,
What do you need? Anything? Okay.
You already drink?
Or do you?
Okay, are you, gonna lock this?
then you're cute.
If I drink, I pass out, I go to sleep.